Hello everybody, it's Peter the Rock. It's Thursday the 11th of April, gone 5 o'clock. I'm at the south side of the HS2 route, and I'm on the east side of the canal, and you can see piers stretching off into the distance. You can't quite see the curvature from here, but the pier where I filmed all the segment, well, one segment being inserted, is straight ahead of me. I think it's pier number 18, somebody said, or it might have been 19, might have been 17, not totally sure. And since my last video, they added a block, they call them blocks, to each end. So at the last video, it's the 11th today. My main video is the 2nd. On the 5th I did a video, and then they'd added one block to each end, but there was a weekend in the way. Since then it's now the 11th. So the number of working days since that is about 4 or 5, and they've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 segments heading towards the next pier, balancing them. You know, segments from this end are balanced with segments being added, or blocks being added, at the other end. And for the first time in quite a while, they've permitted the public, i.e. me, to wander along the path that was shut off to us for quite a long time. We can wander along the path and get very close to the works, which I'm about to do. So it's very impressive. The nearer you get, of course, the bigger it seems to be, and the higher it seems to be. Of course, when Dominique goes, it'll only be half the height, but it's absolutely quite. The lines of the concrete are quite beautiful. The segments all match up nicely to each other. They're all made to do that. Constructed, I think they're constructed so that each segment fits exactly into the next segment. Anyway, so shall we go along and get underneath the HS2 trackway for perhaps the first time. Pedestrians, horse riders can go this way. There's an arrow. I haven't seen any horse riders, although I did see a horse earlier, and it was you talk about a pony and trap. It was a horse pulling a vehicle that had 2 large wheels, and a chap sitting on a very small little sort of a bit of it, just going along the road. So horses are still being used. Oh, hello. It doesn't sound good. I don't like it when. Oh wow! There's a big blue bucket, it looks like. Let's get a bit further away. I don't want it to fall on my head. It looks like they're possibly pouring a bit of grouting or something, perhaps into the final gap, which is just here between the 2 piers. The metal defines it, and don't know how it works. Perhaps they have to sort of make this part extra strong. But you can see, you know, from this point of view, how high up everything is. I don't know if you get vertigo looking upwards. Don't think you need a head for heights looking upwards. Maybe you need a head for ground, something like that. This pier is not symmetric like the other piers, and it's opposite number the other side of the canal similarly, because of the canal, because it's quite wide. So maybe the span, probably the span here is wider than the span would normally be. Now, no one said to me you should wear a hard hat or be careful, watch out for falling concrete or anything like that. I'm still slightly nervous. about being so close to the major engineering project in Europe at a critical point. I feel privileged to be able to film this, allowed to film it. I'm probably being filmed. There's another videographer called Q Master who does drone footage, and he actually mentioned me, I think, in a recent video, because I do the ground footage, or I'm one of the, perhaps the only one who does ground footage. This is the Grand Union Canal, up and down of which I have walked many times, and I think there's a narrow boat headed this way. That'd be interesting. There are some bollards, some floats attached to some rope or whatever, which have been used for the last few weeks to stop narrow boats going up and down the canal, which is quite right. Now, if we look towards London, you can see the curvature of the piers, curving slightly round to the left. There's a lot of noise going on, and the disadvantage in being completely underneath the trackway and Dominique itself is that I just can't see what's going on. But it gives you an idea of how big it is. And in fact, you know, they're keeping to their promise of keeping 30 foot above the ambient land. And there, for the first time, underneath this bit of concrete, you can see the water reflecting rather nicely around that hole in the concrete. So there are lots of cameras around the place. I might well be being filmed, perhaps I'm even being recorded, but I don't think they mind too much, because what they're doing is a wonderful job. So there we are. Look at the beautiful curvature of the arches and of the HS2 trackway itself. The story is that this will hurtle, to use Dave Figley's words. No, he talks about Dominique hurtling towards London. That's a sort of joke, but the trains will certainly hurtle along here, and at maybe 200 miles an hour. I'm not sure, because I've worked it out, and I've done it in several videos, that the trackway will turn to the right of 40 degrees while it crosses the valley, and it will cross the valley at 200 miles an hour across the valley in 36 seconds, because it's 2.1 miles, roughly. You know, but it might be 35, might be 37. I've just worked it out in my head. But isn't this beautiful? The fact that you can be underneath this beautiful symmetry. It's a privilege to be, I'm going to say part of it. Well, I'm not really, I'm just an observer. And a lot going on. I'd love to see the project plan. It must be really quite complicated. And it's quieter here because all the noise is on the trackway itself. I call it trackway, that's probably the wrong word. But one thing you can see is a helicopter up there. Maybe that's the way they do their overhead footage. Maybe it's not a drone at all. Maybe that's why it's silent. Maybe they've got a helicopter to do it. If that's the case, find Q Master on YouTube, and if they do a close-up of this part of the trackway, you will see me. Now, up there's a bridge, and before it on the right is the Harefield Marina, and that's the bridge that I normally film from at the start of these videos. It's Friday, the 11th of April, quite a landmark day, because it's the first time in a long time the general public has been allowed to walk along this part of the London Loop, or the Colne Valley Trail, whatever you want to call it, probably both. So isn't that marvellous? And you know, looking upwards, there's a lot of noise going on. difficult to see exactly what's going on. The spiral staircase nearest to me here is a single helix. It's not like DNA with a double helix, so that's solved that. So if people are going up and coming down at the same time, you've got the sort of awkward excuse me bit to negotiate. And I imagine that the people working here will do that several times, perhaps several dozen times a day. Ah, there it is. There's that blue bucket. Now I moved away from where I was because the blue bucket was almost over my head when I was the other side, and it looks like it's perhaps got some kind of mortar or cement. It does seem like concrete being poured into the final gap between this pier and the next pier, 17 and 18 or 18 and 19, to finally unite these two sections. Yes, there are men there in pink, looks like pink jackets, and I think they're shoveling bits of concrete into the gap. But you can hear it because you can hear the aggregate. And there goes an engineer. He's gone halfway up the spiral staircase, and he's forgotten something because he swore. I hope you didn't hear that, viewers. There's the sun. It's about 5:30, and it's all happening. So he's going up again now. So there are lots of different firms working here. There's security. Now they don't need them at this point anymore because you can just walk through. But the sound of that blue bucket, it's not a bucket, I don't know what it is, but it is delivering concrete, I think. Or yeah, he's shaking it. This is what men do. Oh dear. And this is a good view of Dominique and the HS2 trackway. So I think that's probably it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate it. It's Peter the Rock. It's the 11th of April. If you haven't done and you want to do that, and also hello to people. I don't know how many of you there are who might be watching from America, or who knows, perhaps other parts of the world. I shall try to keep reporting as much as I can when I can see stuff, and this will be, you know, my record anyway of how this whole magnificent project progresses. Thanks a lot. Like and subscribe. Cheers.